live.
Oh, I forgot I was going to.
Yeah, you might want to check on that. If no one's joining, we might not actually be live.
Yeah, we're a little frazzled tonight. If you're... Oh, there's nobody on.
No, so. Doesn't even matter.
Yeah, all right. Oh, boy.
There's still nobody. I mean, people are also busy.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, hey, there we are.
Ah, Rachel's here. We can always count on Rachel. It says that nobody's here, though.
Yep. Hi, Rachel.
Can you hear us? Just wanted to make sure. I don't know. Okay, good.
Oh, good. I turned my volume all the way down, so I had no idea.
We don't know these things.
So as you can see, I wore my very political attire today.
Yes.
Of course, it was early in the morning, so I was wearing a hoodie and nobody got to see it.
Oh, you should go back out there. You should loiter.
Well, allegedly, I think the polls close right now.
They are closed. You can loiter after dark.
Yep. So tonight, as you can tell, we're minus a Philip. He, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, he's waiting to find out if he got elected president. So he's at a ballroom in a hotel up in D.C.
Yeah. There was already like 3 assassination attempts, so he just needs to stay safe. It was really unsafe for him to be here today. So
you know we're hoping. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed
For the Hillis administration.
Oh no.
But tonight's show might be a little shorter than normal. We only have a handful of books to talk about, and it's our election special, so we weren't really going to talk about a lot of books.
Anyways.
I had made a short list of some fun presidents in the comics.
The comics?
In the comics.
We never talk about comics.
So one of the most fun was hold on, I had to write it down. All right. Action Comics 274, which is from the 1960s. It was a Supergirl story where she went back in time and met George Washington, but she couldn't approach him because he was sitting on a big rock made of kryptonite that looked like a throne. Yeah, it's the weirdest story. Like, she ends up like helping him fight in the Revolutionary War. It's the 1960s in the Superman comic. It was nutty. But like, I couldn't find any other time that George Washington had appeared in a comic.
And now we know.
And I was like, well, you know what? We'll start off with number 1.
Number 1.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say the probably my favorite story about a real president that was fake was a miniseries called Drafted that I have honestly forgotten who put it out, but it was basically an alien invasion happened, and this politician from Chicago ended up being like the guy people rallied around, and it was Barack Obama.
Aww.
Before he was president. That was the timeline this was set was about 6 or 7 years before he ran for president. Wow. So it's this great story about like, it's a survival story, like alien invasion, humans get whatever, we're treated like cattle, and then people like Barack Obama pop up and lead us into the future.
It's true.
So that's probably my favorite Obama book, but he did show up in an issue of Amazing Spider-Man and play basketball.
Really?
Yeah. It was a backup story. The main story was Peter went out on a date with Cougar. And then the backup story was he
Hi, Megan.
Hi, Megan. The backup story was Spider-Man played basketball with Barack Obama.
Icon.
This was right after he got elected. I think it may have even been before the inauguration. I can't remember. But I will say that it went to 8 or 9 printings, and we ordered a ton of every printing, and we sold out every time. People who had never even looked at a comic in their life came in here looking for that book.
Aww.
Yeah.
I love that.
It was an exciting time. An exciting time politically because people were so excited and so energized. Fingers crossed for that Hillis administration so we can do it again. I found a couple of books. So What If number 4 from 1977 It's a little shiny because I didn't take it out of the back and board. In this book, the original invaders, who were World War II heroes, continued invading after World War II. Captain America didn't get frozen, I guess. And anyway, they save a very young JFK in this book. It was before he was president.
Baby.
Yeah. There was another book from 1977, DC Special number 29, where Franklin Delano Roosevelt founds the Justice Society of America.
Wow.
So that was a little revisionist history, because the JSA was from the 1940s originally. So this was a fun little flashback story of the president being like, we need superheroes to help protect us.
I love that.
I mean, so one of the silliest things, and this was in the 90s, this is Wildcats. The Jim Lee book. They still exist in the DC universe right now. But in this book, Dan Quayle is infected with like an alien parasite or brainwashed by aliens. I started to grab number 2, but I thought it would blind everybody. But anyway, Dan Quayle is taken over by aliens, and the first 4 issues of Wildcats is part of the plot is they have to defeat evil Dan Quayle.
I love that.
And then this year, for the first time since then, he showed up again in Local Man.
Really?
As once again, evil Dan Quayle. And he dies in this book. Oh. Spoiler, he did.
He did.
He did.
He did it.
But I had to reread this book. I barely remember that Dan Quayle was in it. Philip mentioned it to me last week, and I was like, wait, what?
Wait a minute.
So I reread it today, and it's the same old evil Dan Quayle.
I love it. You can always count on
it. I was going to say, Megan, I think the reason that he kept going in this, because I think he was actually president in this Wildcats universe, is because he did not misspell potato. And that's how he won the election. I remember fondly when misspelling potato would disqualify you from running for president.
Is that what happened?
Yes. Yes. He misspelled potato, and people were like, no, absolutely not. Yeah. Yeah.
I hate that.
I mean, based on where we are now, I'd like to go back to that, please.
I think that would be great. Yeah.
There were much lower.
The bar's not like.
The bar's below the ground. There is no bar.
There is no bar.
There's a piece of twine. So the great leader, Ronald Reagan. His most famous depiction in comics was in Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, which was, I believe it came out in 1988. So, Reagan was pretty prevalent, but the book was set in the future. And in this future, Reagan was still president, like 20 years later. And he was not what you would call the best guy. So I give Frank Miller a little bit for having some foresight there that a lot of people didn't have. That maybe he wasn't the best, but anyway. But my favorite Reagan bit from any comic, and he's not even in this comic. There was a couple issues of Captain America. There was a storyline where the Serpent Society turned a bunch of people into snakes. I believe like most of Washington D.C. got turned into snake people. And I've remembered this fondly forever. This book came out in 1988. Again, a lot of Reagan in 1988. Amazing Spider-Man 303, the Michelini-McFarlane era, for those of you who were fans back in the day. But in this book, Mary Jane's like asleep on the sofa waiting for Peter to come home, and David Letterman is playing in the background. And it's like, it literally says in here, what's up with the Reagan guy? He certainly did make an asp of himself. And I don't know that that's where my love of puns comes from, but boy, did it help.
Yup. Wow.
Yeah.
Iconic, honestly.
Yes, no one noticed that they were snakes. They all look the same. So those are... that's just a short list of the real presidents that have shown up. Like I know Superman's talked to FDR. I think Robert Kennedy showed up in a comic or two here and there. There's been a lot of presidents in comics over the years because, much like pro wrestling, a lot of times superhero comics are a little steeped in, nationalism. Mm-hmm. And so you get a little crossover between the politics and the superheroes, which we're going to shift now to some comic book characters that became president. I only have a few of these. The one that was probably Philip's favorite, and I wrote it down, but I didn't go back and reread it because I thought he was going to be here to really expound because it was one that he liked. There's a book called Prez, where a teenager becomes president. And this book came out, I want to say the late 70s. And then they remade it. We got a new Prez miniseries 6 or 7 years ago, I think. I think Mark Russell wrote it. It was great. It was just as subversive and wacky and topical as the original series about like, okay, politicians have made everything terrible. You know what we need? We need sort of a lazy, sketchy teenager to run the country.
I would make a great president.
So anyway, Prez was great. I haven't read the original was like, I think it was just one issue. And then the new miniseries was, I think, 4 issues or 5 issues. So there's not a lot of Prez out there, but it was great. Both of them were. The presidential storyline that I was mad at, and it only ran through a handful of issues of Action, Adventure Superman, and the President Luthor Secret Files and Origins. They made Lex Luthor president. And at the time, I was like, this is the dumbest story. There's no way in the world that the people of America would elect someone like Lex Luthor president. There is no way. And then in 2016, I had to apologize to the editorial board at DC Comics. Yeah, it was a wild time. Now, this particular version of Lex, I believe, if I remember correctly, he was a clone of Lex because he had like beautiful flowing red hair. Yeah, that was kind of his.
Sold. Sorry.
Yeah. Vote Loki? Yes, I did not write that down, but I should have. I was scrolling through various things and I was like, oh, I need to write that down. And I forgot, so I'm glad you mentioned it. That was a great bit. And then, we got a little bit of that in the Loki series. But God of Mischief becoming president, that's just fun.
Of course.
That would, honestly, I'd like
down.
that right now. That sounds kind of fun, honestly.
Yeah, I'm down for the fun right now.
All right. My favorite fake president that we've ever gotten in comics is this particular run of Ultimate Comics, where the ultimate version of Captain America gets elected president.
Wow.
So the storyline here is Evil Reed Richards, the Maker, who's the big bad in the current Ultimate run, develops a bomb that only kills organics. It doesn't destroy buildings. It doesn't, not humans. It only kills humans, apparently. It doesn't destroy buildings. It doesn't mess up the environment. It doesn't mess up the foliage. It just kills people. And he set it off in the middle of DC. And so the entire city of DC, all the humans are just gone. So like the Secretary of Agriculture, who was like in Nebraska or whatever, suddenly becomes president. So because this happens, all hell breaks loose. We've got terrorists taking over bits and pieces of America all over the place. We got these anti-mutant hate group that takes over the Southwest. They're in like, I want to say like New Mexico or Nevada or whatever. And they've built like concentration camps and they're rounding up mutant kids and throwing these in these camps in the middle of the desert. Up in like Michigan, Hydra pops up and is taken over like, I want to say it was Chicago, not Michigan, it was Illinois. I believe they took over Chicago. And so Captain America and the Ultimates go up to Chicago to fight them, while like Kitty Pryde and a couple of mutants head out to the Southwest to do all that. And that's all happening at the same time. And then there's an emergency election held while all this is going on, and Captain America wins in a write-in vote. So he's in the middle of fighting Hydra, and they're like, Cap, sorry, you're president now. We need you to go to Washington.
Wow.
And I think the reason that I ended up loving this story so much is that, like, once he finds out exactly what's going on, he heads out to the Southwest to help liberate these mutants who, if I remember correctly, by the time he gets there, they've liberated themselves. Kitty Pryde is basically like a born leader, and she is taking the reins, and really everybody's rescued. And then as a way to kind of saying sorry, he's like, all right, I'm going to, on the map, this much area is now a sovereign mutant nation. This is your nation in the middle of Southwest America. Oddly enough, one of the writers on that was Jonathan Hickman, who then went on to do all the Krakoa stuff. And yeah. So he's had that idea for a while. But the Ultimate version of Captain America was a great president. Unlike the What If that my buddy David reminded me of the other day when we were talking about this, there's a What If Captain America became president that came out in the, I think, early 80s. And he did not do a good job. He sort of devolved a little bit into fascism as president. I didn't like that.
No, that's not Cap.
I had blocked that out of my memory because I was like, that is not my Cap.
Nope.
Hashtag not my Cap.
Hashtag not my Cap.
So anyway, that's our election coverage for this year.
Yes.
Check back next year when hopefully we're still here.
Maybe. We'll think about it.
Yeah. So I guess we'll talk about a few books. I read a trade last night of the new Ms. Marvel, The New Mutant. This is the second volume that Iman Vellani has written. She is the actress that plays Kamala Khan on the show.
Icon.
And they were like, would you like to write her? And I imagine her head actually exploded and they had to pick up all the pieces and glue them back together.
Oh, yeah.
That's my guess, because she's a fan. Like, she was dressing up as Kamala Khan and going to cons as a child, and now she gets to be her.
That is so beautiful.
So her first volume that she did a while ago was great. It was a very concise story. Everything was like plotted out perfectly. All the beats were hit right when they should have been, and it wrapped up nicely. And it almost feels like she went, okay, I've proven to you that I can write. Will you just let me do what I want? And they were like, sure. So in this 4-issue miniseries, there's one story, but it goes into 4 different tangents. Like, there's so this is after the fall of Krakoa, basically, and the mutants are all hiding. And there's a scene in the first issue where Deadpool's there, just being Deadpool, and I think he's just there because she wanted to write Deadpool. And it was super fun. His interactions with her and everybody else. And like Wolverine is trying to make him breakfast and Deadpool won't shut up.
Aww.
Like, it's just a fun scene.
Oh.
The X-Men being a family. Plus Deadpool. But then like she ends up going into outer space with Lila Cheney. They end up on Mojo World. And that's not even the A plot. That's just like crazy stuff that's going on all around. It's super fun.
I think we only have one copy for the store, Brian, but we can order you one.
Yeah, I can absolutely put one in. Yeah, absolutely. I don't have a pen, but that's all right. We have comments.
Remind us.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I can put one in your box. It is, I like her writing. She obviously understands the character. Like, she is Ms. Marvel. If she all of a sudden came out and was like, actually, I have superpowers, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Understood.
Called it.
Yep. Yeah. Would you like to talk about a teen superhero?
I would love to talk about a teen superhero. So this week we really lucked out with the DC young adult novels. We got both the Primer trade and Starfire. So Primer came out in, I believe, 3 single issue comics.
It was 3 chunky issues.
3 chunky issues.
Yeah. I read them back then.
Yeah, back in the olden days.
Back in the olden days,
I
like 2 months ago.
I didn't. So I got to read this today, and it was so good. It's a direct continuation of the first book, and it leaves options for like a third book at the very end, which I was really excited about because I love the main character Primer. I think she's so wonderful, and the art is also just like gorgeous. I feel like every page I just wanted to stare at it for hours.
And part of it is, I don't know who's coloring it, but everything pops.
Like, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's so pretty. And the Teen Titans are in here.
Yes!
And if you're a fan of Teen Titans, which I am, and it almost feels like a flashback story. Mm-hmm. Like it's the Teen Titans that we know, but a few years ago maybe.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that these will lead to her becoming a full-time member of the regular Teen Titans.
God, that'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Please.
It would be really cool. Her powers are so weird.
Yeah.
She has, like, spray paint that gives her various powers.
Yeah. Literally.
It's so bizarre.
So good. So good. We need more copies of the first one. I have to tell Alex
are we out of the first one again?
We are. We sell out of it really fast. But if you read the first one and you loved it, you should come get the second one.
I did read the first one, and I loved it.
What? Me too. That's crazy.
It's so wild.
Who'd have thunk?
This is wild.
Oh, wow.
So this Starfire, this is a continuation of the other young adult.
The other young adults. Yep. So the Teen Titans, the other ones.
It started with Beast Boy, and then
it was Raven, Beast Boy loves Raven, Robin, and then Starfire. Oh, I love this series so much. And this one is no different. It is so good. I didn't realize that Starfire, whether this is for just the book or not, but has chronic illnesses. Is that something in the real comics? She has EDS, Ehlers-Danlos.
I don't know.
I
most of my Starfire knowledge comes from like the 80s New Teen Titans. Valid. And that's not a thing that they would have ever touched on then, I don't believe.
But I really thought that was very cool.
That is.
And yeah, it's gorgeous. I love. And the very last one for the series is called Together, which I think is so cute.
Well, their battle cry, much like Avengers Assemble, is Titans Together. Yeah.
That's so cute. Ah! Why? It's not fair. And then here, because we all know, there's a moment where they're looking at the stars. So
of course.
That's where my soul lies.
Yeah, well, Brian brought up her hair, because back in the 80s, when I was reading Teen Titans, George Perez loved drawing her hair where it looked like flames trailing her. Her hair was huge all the time. And sometimes it would like wrap around her when she was flying. But yeah, no other iteration of Starfire has really had that except for...
Well, that's not fair.
The George Perez version.
I want that.
Yeah.
I'm knocking it 2 points. Rated 4.98.
I should find you some old Teen Titans stuff
to read. You should find me some old Teen Titans stuff to read.
Yeah, I think you would like it.
God, so cool.
So which one of those was your pick this week? Starfire?
Starfire. Okay. And Primer is Jacqueline's.
I don't know what Philip says. I haven't talked to him. But mine, which will surprise no one.
Oh my God.
Is Absolute Superman. This is the third Absolute book. And it's the third book that they've knocked out of the park.
It's so good. Oh my God.
I'm going to just show you page 2 and 3. And let me just tell you, it's a kind of a cityscape, kind of a farm, and a bunch of dudes talking. And it's absolutely gorgeous. It is some of the most beautiful art I've seen in a DC comic, maybe ever.
Genuinely. It is so beautiful.
Oh, God. And it is a very, very different Superman.
Yeah.
This Kal-El was still on Krypton when he was like 12 or 13. He grew up with his parents. Now, historically, his parents, Jor-El, brilliant scientist, ran like the Science Council and everything. And in this, much like in the regular DC universe, science is like the religion of Krypton. It is the thing above all. And there's a council of scientists that run everything, and you do not question them. And if you do, like let's say you write a college dissertation that questions some things, or you give a commencement speech at your graduation at the top of your class and question things, you become janitors basically. You get knocked down. It's a very caste-based system. And Jor-El and Laura both questioned what they were being told, and now they are the lowest people in the caste system. And so, like, they're brilliant, and Jor-El's like, Krypton's about to explode, we're all gonna die, and everybody's like, shut up, janitor. Like, literally, a guy says to him, I'm middle management, you have to listen to me. Like, the words middle management were used.
It made me want to cry.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely. Like, ugh.
So we don't see the destruction of Krypton. We see it takes place in two different time periods. Krypton when Kal-El is like 12 or 13. I'm not 100% sure how old he is. And then him at like 1920 on Earth. And he is sort of hiding himself like in jungles and all these other places. And like, if there's a disaster or people need help, he'll save them. But he's trying to find out, are you guys doing the same thing to your planet that we did to ours? Is that what's happening here? And I'm almost certain that we're going to get a contingency of comic book fans who are going to read this book and be like, why'd they have to make Superman woke? Much like the people who are curious, when did Star Trek get woke? They just don't understand the character at all. But Wonder Woman's my favorite of the Absolute books.
This is a very close second.
I think this might be the most important of the Absolute books. I think that they are... I think Jason Aaron is trying to make a point about modern society, similarly to the way that Superman was trying to make a point about modern society when he came out in the 30s. I think that they're using the medium in a way this is why I love comics. There are stories you can tell in comics that you can't tell anywhere else, partly because of the visuals and the way that stories can progress. But anyway, I think Absolute Superman is going to be an important book. This is going to be one that 50 years from now, people are going to be looking back on and being like, man, that was a great era of Superman.
I think it's going to be a great era for all of them.
Honestly, like what they're doing, like I've read the new Justice League that comes out in 3 weeks, I think. And what they're doing with the main DCU is an interesting parallel to what they're trying to do with the Absolute Universe. And I don't know when the two are going to intersect again, because the All-In special that came out a month or so ago, like the main DC universe sort of created the Absolute Universe out of Darkseid. Like the Absolute Universe is darker and grittier and whatever, which I was initially put off by. I was like, I'm tired of gritty. I'm tired of dark. I didn't really love Dark Knight's metal because a bunch of evil versions of Batman, not my jam at all. But I think this is going to do it in a way where the world is darker, but the heroes aren't.
Oh, that's such a great way of putting it. Oh my God. Sorry, I didn't mean to shut you.
No, you're fine. Because like Batman he's pretty dark, but like Absolute Batman made a couple jokes.
He loved his mom so much.
And he loves his mom. Yeah. Like he's a guy I can relate to.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman was raised by really an evil witch on an island called Hell, and she's still Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Like, she's still who she is. And this version of Superman, I think, might even be like, I mean, it's Superman. He should be the shining beacon above them all, but I think he has the potential to be one of the best iterations of Superman we've seen. So anyway, I'm very excited about the Absolute Universe.
Yes. I saw a question on Reddit, and it was asking which like universe you thought was best with the Energon, the Ultimate, and the Absolute.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
So I don't think we have enough of the Absolute universe
I don't
yet
think so either.
to say. The current iteration of the Ultimate universe, I'm loving, but I gotta give it to the Energon universe. Everything they're doing with Transformers and Void Rivals and GI Joe, it's especially Transformers.
Yeah, I read Transformers. I read Transformers, and I loved it.
It's so good. It's so good. I want Daniel Warren Johnson to write all the books.
I want him to write my memoir. My God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see how the Absolute books turn out. I'm hoping that these run for a good long while.
Yes. Are they ongoing?
They are theoretically ongoing, but Marvel and DC do like to be like, oh, it's not 9 issues in and we're not selling that well, so we're.
I hate that.
I also hate that. I'm glad you guys are enjoying Transformers. That is exciting to me because I'm annoyingly obsessed with it. I'm sure I annoy people around me talking about it.
You did before, but now I understand. Now I get it.
All right. Well, Void Rivals is like tangentially part of the universe because there's a bunch of Transformers and Transformers characters, and now there's a GI Joe character who has shown up in Void Rivals. And I don't know when or if that book will ever really cross over with the main books, but I'm loving the story right now. The main gist of Void Rivals is these two people have been at war for generations, and they always keep themselves masked because if they whatever, I can't remember the exact MacGuffin, but basically they're the same people, and they're at war with each other because of a reason that we haven't found out yet. We're like 2 years into this book now.
We're out of volume 1.
Okay.
So we should probably get that eventually so I can read it.
But like Hot Rod keeps showing up like in the background in Void Rivals, and Springer has been a character in the last story arc. So there's a handful of really cool Transformers. The Quintessons have been in there. The weird like piratey shark looking guy, or no, he's like a pig looking guy. I can't remember. They're weird. I can't remember what they're called. But there's a lot of Transformers lore, and if you haven't read any of the current GI Joe stuff like Cobra Commander, they're leaning heavily into the animated movie Cobra La version of GI Joe, or sorry, Cobra. And one of the Cobra La characters just showed up in the last couple of issues of Void Rivals. So all of it's like swimming together, but I'm not sure what direction it's going in. Yeah. But anyway, I like the Energon universe.
Yeah.
Very lots.
Valid.
We had a bunch of other cool stuff that came out this week, but we haven't had time to read a lot of it. There's a new DuckTales book that came out.
Woo!
So I'm excited to sit down to read that tomorrow. I'm trying to remember what all else came out. The first volume of Ultimate X-Men came out in trade.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I guess I should read that.
We got a manga called Cthulhu Cat about a guy who finds a cat in an alley, but it's a Cthulhu cat.
That's
it's
it.
unbelievably cute. It's like horror, but adorable.
But adorable horror.
Yeah.
I love what manga does to cats.
Yeah.
Ugh.
The first scene is like him feeding his regular cat and the Cthulhu cat, and it's like the noises the Cthulhu cat makes, I don't understand. And like the Cthulhu cat's making like weird like evil sounds, and he's like, it sounds like a meow. Yeah.
I might need to read this.
It's really cute. Yeah.
Wow. My God.
All right, we are going to cut this about 10 minutes short.
Because we have to go to bed.
Yeah, I haven't really slept a lot in the last few days, week, whatever. And I also have a lot of obsessing to do tonight. So
gotta get started on that early.
Yay! So I think we're going to wrap it up now so that we can go home and maybe sleep.
Please sleep. I'm going to go home and sleep.
But anyway, we will be back next Tuesday.
Yes.
Hopefully, Philip.
Hopefully
will be
with
here.
Philip, and hopefully he will be the president.
Yeah, that's my hope.
Fingers crossed. All right.
Good night.
Goodbye.
Maybe.
How do I end
How do you
it?
exit? I don't even know.
I think that.